Xin chào mọi người, đây là thử thách đọc truyện tiếng Anh dành cho người lớn ngày thứ ba. Hôm qua thì mình đã đọc sai rất là nhiều từ, nhưng hôm nay mình quyết định sẽ đọc lại phần mà mình đã đọc ngày hôm qua. Hành trình đọc bắt đầu. Around the end of the fourth watch, the whole capital was soundly asleep. Everything was shrouded by a very dense fog. From this side of Lake Zumdan, Lake of Fog, another name of West Lake, by looking toward the quarter of the imperial city, without the flickering lights of the watchtower on the Duanmun Great Porch, the straightforward gate. It would be impossible to discern the different parts of the capital. At this hour, the 3-year-old Emperor Nhân was sleeping, not on his gilded bed with legs in console, but in his hammock of purple. This hammock, a magnificent piece of art, was an unparalleled achievement of 30 skilled artisans of the Baghdad 100 Operation Imperial Workshop, who persevered for 6 months of accomplished so much detail. The interior of the hammock was lined with rose brocade, embroidered coiled dragons ornamented the edge of the lining. Its 2 blouses were bordered with fringes of tinsels and twinkling pearls. The hammock was hung on supporting brackets made of rhinoceros horn. It occupied a corner of the western room of the vastful 10,000-fold happiness palace, which communicated with the palace of the Queen Mother by a vaulted gate. 12 young girls, clad in multicolored silk, were divided in groups and posted by roster near the precious hammock. The Queen Mother had carefully chosen them among thousands of odalisques in the harem. They had to be young, beautiful, gracious, and have a sweet voice and a soft gait. They also had to be experts in preparing dishes, presenting flowers and fruits, decorating lanterns, sewing, and embroidery, as well as in knowledge of music, singing, and dancing. Moreover, they had to know how to take care of the little emperor and show an intelligence equal to their tasks. They had to thoroughly know his eating and sleeping habits and accurately guess his desires at the least movement. They had to know when the sweet taste of the antelope milk was to be reduced, when to replace the bath water scented with 5 fragrant plants, with rainwater aromatic with the stamen of the lotus flower. And when the window blinds were to be rolled up to let sunlight flood into the room, their obligation was to serve this celestial sun. Was not Veritinov son of the Emperor of Jade? He had to be absolutely satisfied with all he wanted. Now, the Emperor was sleeping. To maintain his profound sleeping, a song adapted from Champa music was played instead of a popular lullaby of the country. The Queen Mother softly approached the hammock, drew aside the gauze, and looked at her soundly sleeping son, who was snoring lightly, his chest rising up and down. Then she came to sit down in her large sculptured and gilded armchair. Since the demise of her august husband, she was always dressed in white mourning clothes, even when in bed. white veil on her diadem, white tunic and shirt, white belt and slippers. She could have been a white marble or a plaster statue. Only a small, brilliant black spot was seen while she smiled. She raised the corner of her lips, revealing overlapping canine teeth as black and shiny as custard apple rings. Her appearance made one shudder with cold. When she raised her eyes, one could see two sparkling eyeballs. In fact, she had extraordinary eyes, the right eye being much bigger than the left, full of kindness and warmth when the eyelashes were closed. But they became cruel and wicked when she looked straight and raised her eyelashes and eyebrows, throwing out icy and sharp glances. At first, faced with his eyes shaded by long lashes, Emperor Lê Thái Tông had initially decided to take her to the harem. But then, amazed and shocked by these white eyeballs, he hesitated. The father of the younger explained, "Sire, as you know, according to physiognomy, a human being has indication on their body that foretell their destiny. Some are worse, some are better. Some beauty spots predict a noble situation, a fastidious life. Such strange eyes denote the face of the first lady of the state. My daughter is but a country girl, yet she has the precious sign of strange eyes." This encounter occurred when the imperial cottage stopped overnight in the village of Bố Trạch in Dongsan district, Thanh Hóa province. The young emperor was seduced by the girl's flourishing vernal youth and by the rich man's words about the invaluable indication. The girl became superior wife. Her father, the father-in-law of the throne. Since the ultimate farewell when the emperor returned to the world of fairies, the queen had not changed from mourning clothes. She went twice a day to the temple of the imperial cult, burned joss sticks, made low bows, and cried. She painfully wept, as if the totality of the love and suffering of all the widowed wives of this world could not equal the sentiment she felt for the late emperor. At this hour before the end of the night, seated there by her son, now emperor already, she did not look at anybody with her strange eyes. She looked straight to her heart. The events had happened so quickly. Is it I, who have accomplished so many horrible things? I beseech that the spirit of the emperor, my husband, of all the emperors of the dynasty, all the wise ghosts would examine my case with indulgence. If I had not eliminated that old mandarin, who had been as stubborn as a mule, how could a widow like me put on the Queen Mother crown? And I am the Queen Mother, the most powerful person of the country, governing the whole empire of that year, on the throne behind the blind. Or am I dreaming? She bit her little finger. Ouch. She startled with the acute pain. It was real, evident, no possible doubt. She opened her eyes and looked around. Before her, an emerald perfume, pen in the shape of a Buddha hand citron, exhaled a pleasant smelling smoke. Behind her, in a large vase of Chinese porcelain, a rock sculpture represented a mountain with very small bamboos. This mountain is miniature, this mountain in miniature was called Vạn Thọ Nam Sơn, which means mountain of 10,000 year longevity. It had 5 peaks with a name of each, which the great scholars of the Oriental Pavilion had carefully searched for in the canonical books of Buddhism. On both sides of the Queen Mother, 2 maids were kneeling on the marble floor, carrying a tortoise shell tray on each head. On one tray was displayed a very small stove and a tiny kettle for the preparation of tea. On the other was a bowl of boiled ginseng. Near the carved, lacquered, and gilded platform supporting the armchair of the Queen Mother, a secret trap door opened the way to a large and multi-branched underground corridor. It was named Vạn An Lộ, which means the way of absolute security. Well lighted all along, it led to the private room of the Queen Mother. Eunuchs and Chamberlain had feasted and gambled and who knows what else in those tunnels. The Queen Mother was impatiently waiting for the arrival of the great Chamberlain. That time, these bizarre audiences were only held in the private apartments of the Empress, and of course, in the strictest secrecy. Of obscure origin, Tạ Thanh was a profligate pleasure seeker, passionate lover of songs. He spent his time frolicking at theaters and playhouses, surrounded by women singers. Lương Đăng, Minister of Rights, and a distant relative of Tạ Thanh on the maternal side, believed that Tạ Thanh was well versed in music and had him admitted as a member of the Imperial Orchestra. Yes, yet this debauched person could not play any musical instrument. As a post was vacant in the Imperial Guard, the minister appointed him to the place. So the good-for-nothing began his rascally career. Lương Đăng had his own schemes. Tạ Thanh was chosen to be the eunuch of Huệ Phi. Tạ Thanh was chosen to be the eunuch of Huệ Phi, another superior wife of the emperor. Very quickly, he won her favors and became her closest agent, a reveler, a gambler, an embezzler. He had been involved in various crimes, but he was always safe thanks to Huệ Phi's protection. When the latter lost her position and were excluded from the harem, he addressed a long petitions to the throne, denouncing all the culpability of the woman he had served as a slave. He did not hesitate to add most impudent, slanderous accusations. Nguyễn Trãi, as a high dignitary of the court, told the emperor, "Your Majesty, Tạ Thành had strictly obeyed the orders of his mistress. He had always praised her to the skies. Though a rough, he was protected by her, and she heaped riches and honors on him. Not only he has no compassion for his disgraced benefactors. On the contrary, he made contemptible allegations against her. He has revealed his nasty soul and his meanness, which are incompatible with the ethics of a reign in which peace, order, and prosperity prevail. He belongs to the type of people who live on rice, but do not deserve to be human beings. They don't know the ethical principles of man. Your Majesty should not pay attention to his allegations, and he must be severely punished." The emperor objected. It was curious. Would it be conforming to ethics to lay bare all the possible faults of the culprit? "Yes, sire," Nguyễn Trãi answered. "If it were for a good person, one would repress one's personal feelings. Yet the villain is not counted among such people." Yet, curiously, the emperor mysteriously appointed Tạ Thành to the service of superior wife Nguyễn Thị Anh. Tạ Thành became her man of confidence. In all her doings, she confided in the eunuch. Whether he was actually castrated or not, no one knows. She agreed to what he said and gave him many responsibilities. The two contemptible characters were as alike as two drops of mud. Nguyễn Thị Anh was promoted to be the first superior wife of the emperor, and Tạ Thành to be the great chamberlain. One could easily understand her diabolical intention of suppressing Ngọc Giao, another superior wife who had given birth to a prince, while she did not yet have a male child to be presumptive heir to the crown. She had inveterate hatred for Nguyễn Trãi and Nguyễn Thị Lộ because they had saved Ngọc Giao and her son. She rolled her furious eyes, stamped on the ground, and swore, "As long as Nguyễn Trãi remains alive, we would never be able to raise our head. We must." The eunuch had laughed flatteringly on that occasion. "August Dame, it is entirely up to you." A vague rictus pulled her thin lips. Nguyễn Trãi and his relatives were no longer in this world. But why had the blackguard not come yet? Just at this moment, Tạ Thành edged into the room with sleepy eyes. When his concubine had awoken him and murmured to his ear, "The Queen Mother is calling for you," he took flight, having no time to put on the costume of the court, except the officer's helmet. He fell to his knees in front of her, ready to clamor. 10,000 years of longevity. She had a light smile and waved her hand. Prostration is dispensed. It was a favor long accorded to him alone. "Where are things now? Your Highness," he mumbled, "1,000 excuses. We have not left any inch of land unturned, but no trace of argument was found." Where did you search?" The whole region, Your Highness, from Conson to its farthest limits, mountains and forests. Whenever a Chai and Mun had relatives, she angrily struck on the arm of the chair, and in a mocking tone she said, vain efforts. You are running after rats instead of pursuing the wife of a rebel. Listen, pull out your troops from Conson and its surroundings. Make investigation in the districts of Namsun. She kept silence for a moment. Then she hissed between her teeth. Tell your officers and men that they are good for nothings, that I gave you all 10 days more, and that you should not complain about the Queen's mother's cruelty if you do not succeed in capturing the champ. Have you understood? Accomplish your mission. After a profound bow, that Thanh disappeared back into the tunnel. She cozily nestled back in her chair, absorbed in reflections and calculations. The champ will be delivered soon, but will she give birth to a boy or an heir of Nguyễn Trãi? We must extirpate the grass down to the roots. Good. Still another formal order to Thạch Thành. Capture the woman alive. If it is inconvenient, then kill her, she and her photos, on the condition that an exhibit must be brought back. This idea fully gratified her, and she stood up. The sleeve of her tunic swept the bowl of ginseng to the marble floor, where it broke to pieces. Frightened out of wits, the two maids were petrified, immobile, on their knees, the trays on their heads. They felt a multitude of eyes lift in the palace, with strangely dazzling pupils, dilated and rolling incessantly. And these peculiar icy looks were piercing their shoulders, their necks, their backs, and their pitiable fate. "60 miles away from the capital in the southeast, in the district of Sơn Nam, on the right bank of the Dai River, lay a village named Đoài. The population was small, but the soil was fertile, and the people lived off the land. The richest villager, in addition to his mulberry fields, had also had a large orchard. At that time of the Emperor Lê Thái Tông, on the occasion of the New Year festival of that year, he offered to the throne a magnificent kumquat plant. Nguyễn Thị Anh ate a fruit and praised its excellent taste. She developed a quite outrageous idea. All the inhabitants were to be removed, all the lands of the rich man confiscated, and the village planted with kumquat plants. Without the energetic intervention of Nguyễn Trãi, this beautiful village would have retained only its name. Later on, in her flight, unfortunate Dame Nguyễn Thị Phạm Thị Mẫn was stranded there. The villager had known her. Being profoundly grateful to Nguyễn Trãi, they unanimously decided at any price to protect her and to give her refuge. The rich man had heard the rumor, and he dispatched an informer to the court. The news of the forthcoming arrival of Tạ Thanh troops were revealed like a lightning bolt. The village chef sounded the tocsin to the convened men and women to a grotto for an urgent meeting. In strict secrecy, a solemn ceremony was held to take oaths and to discuss measures aimed at safeguarding Madame Mẫn. We shall install her in the grotto and organize a supply of food. No, our village had only a small mountain with a single grotto. It is too easy to locate and to search. They would catch Madame Mẫn easily. We swore to our gods to save the infant of our great benefactor. Right, well said. Let's think of other ways. I have a sibling in Tianchuan. It is a safe place. I'll bring her there. The national highway goes through Tianchuan. Traffic is heavy, and it is heavily patrolled. Is your sibling trustworthy? Hot discussion, but no plausible expedient was obtained. At last, the village chef proposed. I know a person who can surely bring our affair to success. Many voices were noisily heard. Who? Who is the savior? Excuse me, I cannot tell his name. I'll go myself to meet him, and he will be responsible for everything else on one condition. What condition? We shall strictly abide by it. Good. In a few days when I am absent, if that time comes, please do this exactly as I have told you. Oh, what a long part. The next part. The country once again sunk into war. But where was the national heroism galvanized against the foreign invaders? With great emotion, everyone remembered of fiery sentences in the proclamation of victory over the Wu, written by Nguyễn Trãi, to brandish sticks as flags, to assemble pariahs and vagrants, to entertain the soldiers, to drink alcohol together, officers and men like fathers and sons. Where was the hatred inspiring the spirit of struggle, compelling the aggressors to implore capitulation? Where was the courage awakening the communal conscience to share hardships and sufferings with the combatants? With all the people? Where? That had long passed. Nguyễn Trãi, an illustrious scholar, Nguyễn Trãi, an illustrious scholar, an eminent military commander, the victor of foreign oppressors, had been killed. A blazing star had been tragically extinguished. His former brothers in arms were very few. Some were still in full dress of the court, but neutralized as if they had bound hands and feet. Emperor Nhân Tông was an infant. The Queen Mother and her perfidious and servile eunuchs held absolute power. It was the perfect opportunity for those people who always had the ambitious dream of annexing the Đại Việt and making it one district of the country. Discreetly, their regiments infiltrated the northern border of Đại Việt and engaged in plundering. The baleful news reached the court. It was in late summer of the year of the tiger. The Queen Mother, not paying close attention to the intentions of the enemy and not thinking about organizing the resistance, was only busy with such cruel machination, like the pursuit of Madame Nguyễn Trãi, and became terrified. With the little emperor in her arms, she appealed to her dignitaries and eunuchs. The latter revealed their true colors, citing old age or poor health, even low education and lack of culture, to excuse themselves. Being driven to the wall and swallowing her pride, she went to implore the faithful companions of Nguyễn Trãi. Of course, facing the national danger, they never refused the sacrifice of their life to defend the fatherland. So, old Marshal Label and his army know of 100,000 combatants left for the front. Before the force of the Vietnamese soldiers, the invaders retreated from the frontline posts, letting the Viets reoccupy them without resistance. But the enemy spread out to both banks of the Perkin River, using their war fleet to harass their adversaries and to cut off their passage. In this critical situation, advance and retreat were both impossible. Supplies in shortage, and the marshal took the daredevil decision to kill the tiger in its lair. The plan consisted of spotting the command junk, destroying it, and breaking the enemy fleet. To whom would this difficult and dangerous mission be entrusted? Executing the given order to capture Phạm Thị Mẫn, Tạ Thành had the village of Đoài encircled by his troops and summoned the village chef to meet him at once. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Good heavens, the rascal! Why is he absent? Huh?" He summoned everyone, all the communal authorities, notables, and taxpayers. And Tạ Thành, the great chamberlain, and Tạ Thành, the great chamberlain. Don't you know? I have been ordered to find out and arrest Phạm Thị Mẫn. How dare you disobey? Where is the miserable village chef? You have to choose, to say the truth or to lose your head. According to the plan prepared by the village chef, the unanimously approved, the whole village answered in the same way. A pregnant woman, Great Mandarin, had precisely come here almost 1 month ago or more. She spent her nights in a hut in the mulberry fields and asked for food from some houses at the edge of the village. Who she was, we did not know, and we did not pay attention. We were busy with our work all day long. We had no time to a useless investigation. Only one day, when your order reached the hands of the authorities, did the village chef recognize her. The pursued woman was identified. She swore that she was Phạm Thị Mẫn, wife of Nguyễn Trãi. She was arrested and put in the stocks. The village chef was preparing to bring her to the district governor. She committed suicide by biting off her tongue between the teeth. Fearing being brought to court because of lack of administrative responsibility, the village chef has taken flight. No one knows where. The putrefied body was buried a few days ago. How could we leave it here? After a brief pause, sneering cunningly, Tạ Hành raised his voice. And you have evidence, do you? A bearded man presented himself as one of the communal authorities. He asked permission to return his house to bring them. Afterward, he said humbly, Great Mandarin, here are 2 earrings in pure gold, a battle box of wax, and a coil of false hair, all properly sealed. I'm handing them to you, Great Mandarin. Tạ Hành calculated to himself, gold for him, hair and box for the Queen Mother. So there were only 2 pieces of evidence. He ordered, let's go to the grave. There, at the graveyard, on the outskirts of the village, characters hastily written on a rectangle of wood stated, Phạm Thị Mẫn, native of, born on, died on, posthumously. But he uttered, what is beneath? Without reply, a dozen young men provided with spades and picks leveled the tumulus and dug. A powerful blow from a spade neatly broke the corner of the coffin. A fetid stink exhaled, unbearable. Some held their noses, others were nauseated. The Mandarin stepped back from the precipice and covered the lower part of his face with a lap of his robe. He cried out, That's enough! That's enough! Fill it up! And he returned at full speed to the capital. The Queen Mother, with a coil of hair and the battle box before her white eyes, had a long smile. The grass had been extirpated down to its root. In the coffin buried again underground, the corpse of a bog goat continued to rot. A small boat was sailing upstream toward Laos, rowed by a well-built young man. A pregnant woman, approaching her turn, was sitting with her back on a sack containing some clothes. The man was a former disciple of Nguyễn Trãi, named Lê Đàm. The woman was Phạm Thị Mẫn, the only surviving wife of the former first dignitary of the court, carrying the only drop of blood remaining of him. At the border region, they arrived at the house of a compatriot, a former hunting comrade of Lê Đàm. He entrusted him with sarked mission of taking care of Madame Mẫn and the infant she would give birth to. Unfortunately, when Dam was preparing to return to the country, his comrade fell seriously ill and died a few days later. Dam had to remain with Madame Mẫn and to do all the work in the forest, on the fields, to go hunting and fishing, as required for the maintenance of a reasonable life. Dam managed to establish friendly relations with the neighbors and to help them warm-heartedly. The long-awaited time arrived, a successful delivery. A male infant, the heir of Nguyễn Trãi, came into being. His mother called him Anh Võ. The Vietnamese residents and the other locals in the remote and isolated region of Laos all gave him affectionate kindness. Some brought rice, salt, cloths, Others helped him with chores at home. A few months elapsed. Fatima proposed to lay down. The child and myself are already safe. Our days are assured. The child is very well and growing up. You should return to the country to struggle against the invaders, to fulfill the duties that your master gave you. What is your view? In peacetime, a young man must serve his country with his paintbrush. In war, with a sword, the master told me. After reflecting, he bowed and said goodbye. The recruitment of soldiers were almost complete. Laylam had no time to go to his native village near West Lake and to meet his fellow students in Thăng the capital of the dragon flying to sky. He went straight to Sơn Nam, met the mayor of the village of Đoài, related all what happened in Laos, then joined the army of Marshal Leopold. He bit his lips till blood flowed when he was informed of the success and arrogant attitude of the northern troops commander-in-chief. He pondered over the suggestion of the marshal to spot the enemy's admirers' vessel, to destroy it, and to disintegrate the fleet of the adversary. Good. The idea came again and again to his mind. The Ming, now so haughty and insolent, would finally be terrified and as sick as dogs. An irrepressible general flight would take place. 2 corps of troops had arrived from the north. Hardly would they be arranged in battle order before they would break their ranks. In the citadels, all the occupying pirates, panic-struck, would give up their arms and surrender without condition. The proclamation of the victory over the war, the immortal creation of my master Nguyễn Chai actually said it. What value do these insignificant scoundrels have today to pretend to encircle us and to annihilate us? Oh my goodness, this words. They must be given a lesson and let to know what we are capable of. However, my master had always underlined, what a lion cannot do, a fox can. Stratagem comes first, courage comes next. And to have an intelligent stratagem, we should be absolutely faithful to and tenacious. The marshal had long known Leda. He adopted his plan. It was pitch dark. The night had neither moon nor stars. Wearing only a simple loincloth, Leda plunged into the river where the northern embarkations were found. Moving like a fish, Leda found the boat of the fleet commander who was drinking alcohol. Leda nimbly climbed onto the boat, pressed on a vital point on his neck, and completely immobilized him before he could open his mouth. A knife was put to his throat. In the twinkle of an eye, Leda put on the admiral's hat and clothes and took his sword. The frightened bodyguards could not make any movement, and both knelt down. Leda gave order to row the junk silently and discreetly out of the confluence of the 3 rivers and head upstream. It was all rapid and unexpected, with the speed of lightning. The news of the flight and capitulation of the Northern Admiral was spread. Marshal Leopold fired crackers for several hours. The invaders, terrified, withdrew in great disorder. The Vietnamese forces attacked with abandon. The destruction of the enemy fleet, with thousands of drowned soldiers, was catastrophic for the insolent foreign invaders. Leopold summoned the young hero to his tent of command, lavishly congratulated him, and bestowed high grade and noble title on him. Respectfully and delicately, Madame declared, Marshal, I am a disciple of the Confucius. The invasion occurred, and I had to put aside books and pens and take up bows and swords. Peace has been restored. Now I beseech you to let me resume my scholarly life. Ngô Thị Ngọc Giao, one of the senior wives of the late Emperor Lê Thái Tông, had a child with him, Prince Tư Thành. On the other senior wife, Nguyễn Thị Anh, now the Queen Mother, had maneuvered to eliminate them. Ngọc Giao and her son had to take flight and to seek refuge among the poor in the countryside. Thanks to the energetic intervention of loyal dignitaries, she and the prince returned safe and sound to the capital to live at the Huy Văn Pagoda. Then the prince was promoted petty king Bình Nguyên to protect him effectively and to help him in his duties. Lê Đàm was appointed attached to the petty king, was officer of the guard and master of studies. Then, from being a poor student of Westlake, he became a mandarin living in the royal residence, and had daily meetings with dukes, marquises, ministers, and generals. That is the end of the reading for today. Such a long reading, right? Thank you for listening, and see you tomorrow.